Foley man is dead and a woman injured after a domestic situation in Foley. It happened yesterday on Colorado Court. Police say Linda and James Doyle were lying on the floor when the police arrived. They say James had been shot and killed. Linda appeared to have been stabbed.
Hello, 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 sweet baby angels and pumpkin heads. It is your girl, Miss Tetra Resinstone, and today's video, we're looking at Linda Doyle. She went from the victim of a domestic assault to being the perpetrator, finding herself behind bars in the death of her husband, James Doyle. An Alabama woman charged in the 2019 killing of her husband stabbed her own vagina after the murder so she could falsely claim self-defense. Prosecutors said this week. Linda Doyle, age 66, was arrested Tuesday after a Baldwin County grand jury returned an indictment against her following a year-long, thorough investigation into the case. But the woman claims that she shot her husband dead because he had attacked her during an argument over sexual demands. She was attacked, stabbed multiple times in the vagina with the butcher knife, managed to get out of bed, retrieve a pistol that was in the home for self-defense, and then managed to shoot and kill her assailant, which happened to be her husband. The defense attorney John Furman reportedly said. Prosecutors, however, disagree, claiming Doyle stabbed herself in a wild attempt to avoid prosecution. Based on the evidence that has been recovered at this time, we don't believe that Mr. Doyle inflicted those, said Patrick Dodgett, an assistant district attorney prosecuting the case, according to WKRG. The killing happened July 30th, 2019 in Foley, about 40 miles southeast of Mobile. Doyle was released on bond Wednesday, pending a January 15th court appearance. Now, I gotta give it to you, Miss Linda Doyle. That takes some dedication to stab yourself, and not only just stab yourself, but to stab yourself in probably one of the most sensitive places on the human anatomy, your own genitalia. Now, I can't fathom the pain that must have been like. I don't want to fathom. I don't want to know that type of pain. But the one thing I think that we can all agree on is that this is acts of a desperate woman, a woman that thought this was her only way out, a woman that was in a place where she believed murder was the answer and potentially inflicting self-harm. Now, of course, that's what the prosecution would want us to believe, and we are innocent until proven guilty. So I really wanted to ponder the web that she might have found herself in on both sides. When you think about someone that's 66 and someone that's 71, those are our meemaws and our papaws, our grandparents. It's hard to imagine that meemaw would not only feel the need that her escape was murder, but then to cover it up with a vicious attack on herself, and again, the most vulnerable places on the human anatomy being her vagina. And it's also hard, on the other hand, to believe that Papa at 71 had such a unquenchable thirst for sex that he would take a rejection so personally to an extreme where he would grab a butcher knife and stab her multiple times. It just is hard to fathom either way. The one thing that we do know, however, is it did happen. At the end of the day, she did suffer stab wounds to her vagina, and he did lose his life. So the matter of who did what, and that's kind of what the prosecution is going to have to prove to the jury. So I really would love to see how this all pans out. I did try and look to see if there was any documents or any interviews, any information at all that kind of went into the relationship that this couple had prior to this incident, prior to 2019. I want to know how long they were married. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, because let's say they've been married 10 years, 5 years, even if they're married a couple years. In my past relationships, the short ones that I've had, the couple of years that I've been in a relationship, there's been many times that my partner would want to have intercourse and I was not in the mood. It's a very normal thing that happens in relationships. And They never resulted into violence. They never resulted into, grabbing butcher knives. Listen, that never is a part of a rejection. And although, yes, maybe sometimes people could get worked up in a sense and do something awful and vile. And of course, there is marital rape. I don't know if that was a history in their relationship. I don't know at this point if, say, he would just take her body. If he did in the past, let's say, do what's called marital rape, then why wouldn't he do it this time? So that whole angle, that whole aspect to me does make it seem far-fetched that he would this. And by the way, the defense attorney did say in an interview that she says this was the first time she told him no. The first time that she said, I'm not putting out. No, sir, it's not happening. And that is what set him off, and ultimately the chain of events unfolded. I find that hard to believe. If they've been married longer than a year, I find it hard to believe that she never told him no. And listen, it could be, but if they've been together more than a year, I just don't see it being feasible that she's never turned him down, and I just don't understand how that is even believable. So that's probably the biggest hole for me. But what keeps me from believing that she would, I just can't fathom a person stabbing their own genitals. That to me is so hard to fathom. That is so hard to wrap my brain around. So I don't know. This is an interesting one. What are your thoughts and opinions? Do you think it is possible that she could have killed her husband and in an attempt to cover up this crime, chose to stab herself? I mean, it makes her a great defense because most people would think, who could do that to themselves? Who would do that to themselves? Therefore, she must be telling the truth. So it does make for a compelling defense. And she could be very desperate to get out of the marriage, but not only get out of the marriage, have him dead. Who knows? They could have all their money joint together. She could want his Social Security. She could want his retirement. I don't know. Who knows? Divorce was clearly not an option in her mind. If she is guilty, she wanted his ass dead. It's just, this is such an interesting article, an interesting case, a very, very disturbing one. The imagery that I have makes my gut hurt. And ultimately, Paul did lose his life. James is no longer with us, and his life was cut short. Granted, he lived a very long, full 71 years, which is fantastic and awesome, but who knows how long he could have lived. And to lose your life at the hand of a person who is supposed to love you and be there through sickness and in health and richer or poor and take vows to support and love you has got to be the ultimate betrayal when it comes to losing your life. All in all, I will definitely be watching what happens in January. Hopefully they will put some more information out and I can get a better idea of the dynamics of this relationship, get a better idea of what kind of world did they live in, what type of relationship did they have, and who knows, there may be evidence to support a controlling, violent, domestic violence household. Or it may come out that this was a loving man, this was a loving relationship, and she just simply wanted to get out. I don't know what the motive, there hasn't been anywhere that shows what the motive is, and I think that makes it so hard to ascribe your position of guilt or not, because we don't know why somebody could do this and why somebody would do this. So I don't know, sound off in the comment section down below. Let me know if you think it is possible that she did this to herself. Let me know if you think it's possible that he did it to her. I want to know your thoughts and opinions based on what we know so far. And I know it's not a lot of information, but sound off in the comment section down below. Find me on social media. I'm on Twitter at @Resinstone, Tetra_Resinstone on Instagram as well. Support the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing if you have not already. Bells on, of course, guys. And if you would like a cute, lovely sweater, check the link in the description below. I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. As always, bye-bye.